How's it going, guys? Welcome back. Episode 29 of Oh No Sports. We've got a special guest, first time on the show, George Clendenin. We're talking college football today. We're previewing the entire season, each of the major four conferences. We're talking about players to watch. Without further ado, Georgie, how you doing, brother?
Oh no, is it going to be better? Football season's upon us. It's the best time of the year, and I just can't wait to sit on a couch on Saturdays and Sundays and watch ball.
I couldn't have said it any better. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the NFL, but we're talking college football today. Just to give you guys a brief preview of what we're looking at. As I said, we're going to go through each of the top four conferences. So that's ACC, SEC, Big 12, Big 10. We're going to talk about one guy who's either the guy to watch or a new transfer or a five-star coming in each of those conferences. We're also going to talk about the winners of each of those conferences. And last but not least, George and I's top four, the final four that we think is going to make the college football playoff. So without further ado, George, you tell me what conference you want to start out with.
Yeah, let's start out with the one that I think won't be that good is the ACC.
Okay.
Yeah, the ACC was weird last year, right? With Duke and Virginia in the ACC title game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that'll happen again. Miami comes onto the scene late with Carson Beck at the helm. But you got to start with Miami, right? The Hurricanes are back, and they look like they can maybe reach where they were last year in the title game. Darian Mensah is a great quarterback. However, I'm not so high on him. Just watching a lot of Duke games, betting them last year a lot. Pretty underwhelming. But it all starts with Malachi Toney, the true sophomore, had a stellar season last year. And you can only imagine that would continue or be greater. But then you look at the defensive side, right? You lose a lot of guys, especially on the defensive line with guys like Ruben Bain. And it's just, where does that production in the sack game come from this year, right? You got the Missouri transfer and the old Georgia Bulldog, Damon Wilson, who had a great year actually last year at Missouri, and then had some NIL problems, so goes to Miami. And then the secondary, is returning a lot of vets as well. But, it just really comes down to the pressure, because that's what made them so great. And that's what won them games, especially late. They go to Louisville and Carson Beck throws 5 picks, right? The defense in that game, I remember watching that at home. The defense in that game was great in terms of pressure, and they were putting Miller Moss in an absolute jail cell. But it becomes, can that defense do that? The offense, I think, will be way better this year. Even Mark Fletcher coming back, that is massive.
That was a huge one.
Huge. Mark Fletcher was amazing last year in the playoffs. He got upwards of 20 to 25 touches a game. So with their schedule being pretty light outside of a few ACC games, you got Notre Dame in there too late in the season. At Notre Dame, that South Bend is going to be electric. I want to go to that so bad, but outside of the Notre Dame game, pretty manageable schedule.
Weak schedule, very weak.
Yeah. We could talk about a little bit more about the ACC. Who do you like?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Miami, like you said, I'm high on Darian Mensah. He quietly threw 36 touchdowns last year, which was second in the whole country. I think he could throw 40 this year for sure. I mean, that they have no competition. So I think he could throw 40. But as far as the ACC goes, I think SMU is the only other team that's worth speaking about. Kevin Jennings returning. They have 8 4-stars between the portal and between freshmen. So I think they're going to be really good. My one team that I'm staying far, far away from is Louisville. I think they're incredibly overrated. I do think Isaac Brown's a Sunday player. He'll be in the NFL soon, but I think Louisville's overrated. They'll probably finish 9-3 and miss the playoff. If they do make the playoff, they'll get crunched by a SEC or Big Ten team.
9 games, though, it's a lot of wins.
I know, even if they win 9. But either way, I don't really have a ton to say about the ACC. My big player to watch is CJ Bailey. In case you do not know who he is, for the viewers listening, he's a 6'6", 220-pound running and pro style QB for NC State. I somehow, some way, waiting for a cardiologist appointment, got to watch him practice at their facility. I was pretty soon after kicked out of their facility because you're not allowed to be there watching CJ Bailey practice. But I did get to see him throw a few passes on the run. That guy's incredibly gifted. He quietly had 31 all-purpose touchdowns last year, and I think he could easily be in for 35 plus this year, and NC State could be a team with 8 wins.
Yeah, I love NC State. And also, they picked up a huge piece in the portal, the former 5-star JoJo Trader from Miami, who was actually high school teammates with Jeremiah Smith.
Wow. That team was so good.
Yeah, at Chaminade down in South Florida.
Oh, yeah.
So JoJo Trader's going to be a huge name to watch this year. And I really like NC State. But, you can't really talk about the ACC without talking about Clemson as well. And, Clemson's also been like, I don't know how to put it. They just kind of been out from the outside looking in, these past few years after, T-Law goes to the Jags. But this team could, and I say this lightly, could make a lot of noise. And if they get in the postseason, watch out. You got a great receiver in Bryant Wesco Jr.
He's unreal.
Yeah, he's great. And the defense is really good too, especially at linebacker with Sammy Brown and Jeremiah Alexander. Those guys are dogs. But it just really comes to down to the signal caller. You got Chris Vizina, who's never started before. He's been in the system. He's a redshirt junior or senior, I believe. He's been there, but it just becomes, how does he actually fit in as a starter? So Clemson's a team to watch. Also, Clemson has 3 out of the 4 starters are transfers in their secondary, which transfers and Clemson don't really go together. But, you see Dabo. Yeah, you see Dabo kind of, starting to fold into, all right, let's
kind of got no choice. Portal. Yeah, it's like what's his name at Marquette, Shaka Smart. He's never going to use the portal. You got no choice in today's era, and it is what it is. Just pulling it up quick, Clemson's schedule. They play at LSU, thanks, week 1. They play home on October 3rd against Miami. They play at Duke, and then they play home against South Carolina. I'd say those are their only 4 games that are really a test, but I could easily see them losing 3 or 4 of those. But like you said, man, if they get in at 10-2, any team coached by Dabo, you said this in the beginning about Miami, teams that have pedigree and have been there before with coaches or players, whoever it may be, helps a lot. And Dabo's obviously been there plenty before.
Yeah. All right. So if we're going player of the year, ACC, I'm going with Deuce Robinson, the wide receiver from Florida State.
Shout out Chuck Twos right there, baby.
Yeah, that's right. I've watched a lot of Knowles ball because of that family. Shout out the Twos family. Deuce Robinson is a man amongst boys. He is a tall 6'4", 6'5" receiver. Initially a tight end out of high school, turned receiver. He had 1,000-something yards last year and like 10 touchdowns. He
kind of reminds me of Drake London.
Yeah, exactly. He was ridiculous, right? And, it just so happens, Florida State, just, ever since, missing out the playoff to Bama 3 years ago, it kind of took a turn for the worse. But, I mean, Florida State in general can be somewhat good, I think, this year. With Deuce Robinson, besides him, they got Mekhi Dansby, who is like maybe the fastest player in the country. He runs track for them as well. And then you got, honestly, I think a top 10 running back duo in the country with Trey Wisner, the transfer from Texas, the starter last year, and Osman Chroma, who was a Georgia commit for like a year and a half. Last year, his true freshman year, had an amazing season as the RB2. So now, it's going to be like an
They'll probably
RB1
split
A
touches
and
again.
B.
Yeah.
Yeah, but these guys like Wisner last year, he had some
Wise was
great
good,
games.
man.
He had
Oh
like,
yeah.
didn't he have like almost like 200 yards or something against Texas Tech last year?
Yeah, in the
Not
game
Texas Tech,
that
A&M.
when they played A&M and what's his obviously CJ Baxter was done for the year, but the other
Yeah,
back, forgetting his name, but you know who I'm talking about. The other
yeah,
back sprained his ankle that game, and Wisner was the only one getting touches, and he literally, I think he had 200 all-purpose yards. So you're
yeah. He's
100%
really
right.
good.
I like that take.
Yeah, and it's kind of just like Clemson. It's like, who's throwing in the ball. Florida State's going to start Ashton Daniels at quarterback,
Yep.
the Stanford transfer, who is really good with his legs, but it's again, can he produce? And also, you know, hot seat Mike Norvell, like to the fullest extent.
Yes.
Like, yeah, he just got, a contract extension last year. Yes, he gave up $10 million back to the school because he felt bad, basically because he felt bad. But hot seat Mike Norvell,
Yep.
it's just, do or die for the Noles this year. But
Completely agree.
yeah, but Deuce Robinson for sure, player to
Okay.
watch this season in the ACC.
All right, love it. Well, we've covered the ACC probably more than we should have because let's be real, it's only the fourth out of these four conferences. Let's go down the list. Next, we'll go Big 12. I've got a lot to say about this. Honestly, this is my favorite conference outside of the SEC in college football. It's my favorite in college basketball, but we're talking football today. Give me your team to watch or the team that you think is probably going to win this conference, along with your player to watch in the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, it's always fun turning on a Big 12 game and you see a final score of 55-40. It's so fun. Big 12's great, but you haven't heard this year much about the Big 12, especially preseason, besides their brand deal with like Monster Energy. That's the main thing you've heard about the Big 12 this year. Nobody's talking about the Big 12, right? Besides the Brendan Torsby stuff, but we can get into that later. Anyways, so I think the team to beat in the Big 12 is still Texas Tech. I think the playing field has leveled though. Just talent wise.
I mean, you might be better than Will Hammond. I've seen you throw the rock, and you could be better than Will Hammond.
Yeah, I mean,
not good.
Yeah, I've lost the spiral a little bit. Went to the beach the other day. Yeah, we need some work on that flick. But I mean, I really like Texas Tech this year. Micah Hudson, the former 5-star, has been kind of waiting in the wings a little bit, and hasn't really come into form. He's now going to get the full starting role as the outside receiver this year. He's really talented. And then it really comes down, just like last year, the defense, right? You got to replace, David Bailey and Jacob Rodriguez and these guys who gave you so much protection last year.
In the middle too.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, the D line, all seniors or redshirt seniors. It's
transfers again.
Yeah, a lot of transfers again. That oil money is flowing, But I'm telling you, like, experience matters in college football, and I think they had 4 out of the 12 preseason Big 12 all first teams on that defense. And, you can't beat the champs, or you're not the champ until you beat the champs, right?
That's
and
true.
I think it's Texas Tech to beat. But I really like the Big 12 as a whole. And player to watch this year, we're going down to Central Florida, UCF. I'm telling you, you'll remember him.
I know. Yeah.
Quarterback Alonze Barnett III, the JMU quarterback last year, who maybe was the best player in the country for a whole half of football in that half versus Oregon in the college football playoff. Holy crap, was he slinging the rock? Like, he was playing so good. Scott Frost is back as the head coach at UCF. Had a horrible year last year, but
man, I'd love to see them make some noise, man.
Would it be awesome? Like, I don't really like UCF. I don't really like UCF being from Orlando. The whole national champs thing was just
too much.
Cop cars and stuff. No thanks. Turn that off, right? But Alonze Barnett, man, he's a baller. finally in a Power 4 team, I would watch him.
Okay, I love that. I've got a completely different take, which I love when this happens for Big 12.
Yeah.
I like Texas Tech. I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
My team to watch in the Big 12 is one that had one win last year, and they've got a full overhaul. And I think they have the best transfer running back quarterback duo in the entire country, and that is Oklahoma State with Drew Mestamaker and Caleb Hawkins from North Texas. They also picked up that wide receiver, Wyatt Young, who quietly had 1,200 yards last year. But my point on Oklahoma State, they do not have a very hard schedule. It's not easy, but I think they could easily win 10 games. And my reasoning behind that, Mestamaker does not turn the ball over very often.
Yeah.
He is also, in case anyone doesn't know, I'm going to give a little backstory on him. He was unrecruited. He was a walk-on at North Texas as a starting strong safety. Sorry, as a strong safety, not starting. He was a walk-on. He decided halfway through freshman year camp, holy crap, I'm never going to see the field at safety. So I'm going to be the scout team quarterback. He considered, obviously, I don't know what he did in between like the 6 weeks, but someone got hurt. Another person got hurt. All of a sudden, he's taking snaps with the second team, and all of a sudden, he's throwing for 35 touchdowns last year for North Texas.
Yeah, he was unbelievable.
6'6". He's a pro style. Also, Caleb Hawkins is going to be an NFL running back. He'll probably be one of those guys that gets picked in the third round. Don't be shocked if he's an All-American this year. I think Oklahoma State will win 9 games, maybe even 10, and they could compete for the Big 12 championship. And I do think they'll make the playoff. It's one of my favorite future bets. And yeah, my players to watch are those two guys, Hawkins and Mestamaker. And then I'd like to touch before we head out on the Big 12. First, BYU with Bear Bachmeier and LJ Martin. And second, the 5-star kid on Houston, Keyshawn
Henderson.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about those two. So let me hear your takes on those two.
Yeah, Keyshawn Henderson was a guy who, especially coming out of high school, had that hype in the beginning and committed to Houston real early, right?
That oil money speaks, man.
I'm telling you. But, you know, especially in the process, you know, nobody thought he would stay committed to Houston, stays loyal to Houston, and now he's fighting with Connor Wegman, the old Texas A&M quarterback, for the starting job. Even if Wegman wins it, they are not going to let Henderson sit a full year. He's going to play. And let me tell you, like, I was watching some of his tape the other day. He is insane with the arm talent. His deep ball is so beautiful. And
we've seen enough of Wegman, man. That's like a Jackson Arnold type. Like, get out of here. It's time for the 18-year-old to step in.
Yeah, for real. It's like we need some new blood in this system, right? And like Houston's ranked, you know, in the top 25, like 23rd in the AP poll this year. Houston's going to be a fun team to watch. BYU, LJ Martin having like 1,300 yards last year he was so good. You know, and BYU, people forget BYU last year was basically a foot in for the playoff until they imploded and lost twice against Texas Tech. Once
and they lost like 35-0 to Texas Tech one of the games.
Yeah, it's like BYU was like a name to mention in, you know, the college football playoff, and then all of a sudden they're out of it. You know, that part of it was the Bachmeier injuries last year. But now they have some really good depth at QB with Ryder Lyons as the backup.
He's a 4 or 5-star, right?
He was a 5-star guy. So he was actually on his Mormon mission this summer. He was out on his Instagram showing photos about that. I mean, those two teams definitely can make some noise. And just all along, Big 12 football never gets old. Also, with Oklahoma State, Oregon goes to Oklahoma State in week 2 or 3 this year.
They have a hard non-con schedule.
Yeah, but
so
shout for Oregon.
Yeah, they play Oregon and Oklahoma?
Yeah.
But their in-conference schedule is light, in my opinion, because
Yeah.
other than playing at Houston, they don't really have a hard game other than at Houston and Texas Tech. They should run the table with everyone else. But playing at that September 12th, get on the couch at 12 o'clock noon, because that game could be – I mean, we're going to talk about Dante Moore and that Oregon roster because it's unbelievable. But, man, I'm excited. I will be taking Oklahoma State no matter what the points are.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's talk even though we just previewed Dante Moore a little bit, let's talk the big one, SEC. We're both SEC guys at heart.
Yep.
If anyone doesn't know it, George Clendenin's the biggest Georgia fan I know. It goes with his name. It's not a shock. But either way, I'm an SEC guy, as everybody knows. I'm a little biased to the SEC, but I'm more so truthful. And let's talk about the SEC. You give me your rundown. Give me who you think a player to watch is, who you think is going to win. There's about 8 teams that could. And then give me a quick rundown on the Dogs, and we'll check that out.
Yeah, I could talk about this conference for maybe 2 hours.
The whole show on the SEC.
Yeah, I don't want to have your listeners hear my voice for the rest of their day. But yeah, we can start out with the Dogs, sure. So I'm really excited about this Georgia team this year. We're the youngest team in FBS football, and we returned 14 starters. That is huge, right? Yeah. Because it's a young team, but an experienced group that comes back.
KJ Bolden is the star of that group, man. He's unbelievable.
We might have the best secondary. Okay, I don't want to sound biased, but we might have the best secondary with KJ Bolden, Ellis Robinson, DeMello Jones, and a transfer from Clemson, Khalil Barnes.
That's minimum 2 NFL guys, maybe 3.
Yeah, it's such a talented group. And even, coming off the bench with like Rayshawn Dinkins last year, who was a true freshman who came onto the season late and had a great game against Bama in the SEC title game last year. The defense as a whole, going to be really solid. The things that Georgia's been kind of missing in these past 2 or 3 years is just, that tenacity on defense, right? Especially pass rush, right? The pass rush hasn't been there for the Dogs with only like 20 sacks last year. That's not going to do it. This year, really excited about the line. Gabe Harris and Quintavious Johnson, who were great at the end of the season last year, going to bring a lot of sacks. The interior of the line's good. And then offense, real quick, Gunnar Stockton coming back. Not like he was going to leave for the draft anyways, but I really like Gunnar Stockton. People are super bipolar on him, but, even outside of the stats, right? If your quarterback gets smacked in the face against Ole Miss off his feet, gets right back up and starts directing the line on where to block, that's one guy I want to play for. And that's what makes him so good, is just that leadership ability outside of all, the running and, being third in the SEC last year with touchdowns responsible for. And then the running backs as well with Nate Frazier and Chauncey Bowens. The only question mark is the receiver group. It's weak again. Yeah, there's not really like just this big superstar name that everybody knows. It's just going to be just a lot of like, hopefully just a lot of playmakers that won't really have one person stand out. But, outside the SEC or outside Georgia, man, the SEC is going to be tough this year. First year with the 9-game conference schedule, people are going to be beating each other up, right? It's going to be, a good amount of injuries, I hate to say, just because, these games are so tough, right? And physical. Let's start with Texas, I guess. I want to be so high on Texas. I just don't like them, but Texas is going to be really good. Arch Manning, obviously, at the end of last year, Arch Manning was amazing. Really good. Maybe
if they got in the playoff, it would have been a real problem for everybody.
And it's just because he's Arch Manning. People see the beginning of the year last year. It's like, oh, this guy sucks. No, Arch Manning is actually really good at football. News flash, guys, right? But the problem with Texas last year was the run game. They had almost zero run game, and now you bring in two transfers, Hollywood Smothers and Raleek Brown, who, Hollywood's more of the flashy, has good footwork, speed guy, and then Raleek Brown is that former 5-star hard nosed guy from Arizona State that can really pound the rock. And then receiver Cam Coleman.
Yeah.
Good Lord. That guy,
he's a problem.
That guy knows what he's doing, and he's going to get paid on Sundays. And yeah, I mean, you see the clips in practice already with these one-handers.
Catch he made, that was one of the greatest catches I've ever seen.
It was unbelievable, right? And it's this team's really talented. Maybe one of the most talented in the country.
Yeah,
definitely
sure.
definitely top 5. And Texas is a team you got to watch. I'll let you speak a little.
Before you jump off of Texas, my guy to watch in this entire conference is linebacker Rasheem Biles.
Yeah.
And it's pretty crazy to me. He's not ranked that high. He was a 4-star transfer from Pitt, but he was 3rd in the country in tackles last year.
Yeah.
And they lost Anthony Hill Jr., who anyone who watches or knows me, knows the channel, they know I love that guy. He is literally Anthony Hill Jr., just a little bit smaller and a little bit faster. Rasheem Biles will have 100 tackles this year. I guarantee it, as long as he stays healthy. He'll be first-team All-SEC. He will probably be an All-American. He's going to quarterback that defense, who has a lot of returning starters, which is shocking considering they had 4 guys go in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. So I'm pretty high on Texas, but I agree with you. It's like they haven't – what's Sark done? They haven't really won any playoff games. They haven't done much stuff meaningful. But at the end of the day, they're good and they're tough to – they're going to be tough to beat. Who's your player to watch in the SEC?
I'm going to stick with I'm not going to go for one of the bigger schools because I like giving everybody love. I'm going with the quarterback from Mississippi State, Camario Taylor.
Yes.
Dude.
He's like 6'3", 230.
Yeah, and his true freshman year last year was so awesome. He backed up to start the year Michael Van Buren, who's now at USF with Brian Hartline as the coach and company. So I'm actually excited about USF too. Anyways, Camario Taylor could be really, really good this year, and they have a really good home schedule as well. I don't know. I just think Camario Taylor, especially with the legs, he's just a super fast, young, kind of raw talent that a lot of people don't know because, not many people watched Mississippi State football last year. But Camario Taylor is going to be really good. I'm predicting him to make the SEC all 3rd team. Yeah. So we're going to
be thinking of the quarterbacks in the SEC. We got Arch Manning, we've got Gunnar Stockton, we've got Marcel Reed,
Sam Leavitt.
Sam Leavitt. We've got even Kalen Russell, and even Byron Brown, that making 3rd team in the
so many good quarterbacks.
John Mateer, if you make 3rd team in the SEC, you are a baller. I like that take a lot. I got a question for you in regards to who's in my opinion, the SEC has got 8 teams that could legitimately win it. Who's a team that's not 1 or 2? So not Texas, not Georgia, that you think has a real chance to win this thing and honestly get a bye in the playoff, obviously.
Yeah, I don't want to – I would put Ole Miss in there as well in that group of that top tier of the SEC.
Yeah.
Ole Miss is going to be,
with Chambliss and Lacey is just –
Trinidad and Lacey alone, that's kind of all you need. Pete Golding, right, has those guys locked in. That locker room is, bought in on the Pete Golding train. So I would watch out for South Carolina this year. That's a team.
Wow, I would not consider them in that 2nd tier.
Let me tell you why I'm high on South Carolina. It's because they have, it's this desperation factor up there in Columbia right now. has Beamer ball worked? Not really, but you saw flashes of it, especially in
Everyone loves
2022.
him.
Yeah, they love him, but in 2022, right? You beat number 5 ranked Tennessee, right? That's the game that Hendon Hooker tore his ACL in. But you beat Tennessee, and then you go to Clemson and beat Clemson in Death Valley. That was, when coaches were reaching out to the media to basically plead their case for the playoff. That was kind of in that era. So, and South Carolina kind of had, maybe a little bit of a say that year. And I really like South Carolina this year. I think they have one of the best players in the country in Dylan Stewart, off the edge. Good. Yeah. I mean, the skills he has is unbelievable, definitely NFL ready. And he's in his true junior year, right? Like, he could have gone to the league last year. That's how good he is. Then you have another guy on the D line, Gabriel Brownlee-Dindy, who's a 5-star guy, transferred from Oklahoma. And then obviously, Lenora Sellers, who had an underwhelming year last year. He was actually my Heisman pick last year. Super underwhelming year.
Me too.
Well, glad we're in the same boat.
That'd be no ball. He had like 12
listeners, I promise we know what we're talking about somewhat. But I mean, Lenora Sellers, this is definitely like a bounce back year, a career defining year, in my opinion. Unless you want to go, be a journeyman backup in the NFL for the rest of your life, right? Like, this is do or die time for Lenora Sellers. He's got the talent. We all know it. It's just, can he put it week in, week out on the field? And it helps by, just get the ball to Nick Arbor. Get the ball to Nick Arbor. This guy is a monster. He's 6'4", runs like a 10-set or like a 10-2, 100-meter.
Borderline Olympic.
It's crazy. Like this guy has so much athleticism that you need to get him the ball, and he needs to be a 1,400-yard receiver with 15 touchdowns. Like, he needs to, and that's where it comes in. It's like, South Carolina's got the talent. It's just like Shane Beamer.
We need to figure it out. I agree with that. I got a team that, and this is the last piece on the SEC, because as you said, we could talk about it all day.
I don't know how many minutes. It's been a long time.
We haven't even talked about Oklahoma, Texas A&M. By the way, I just want to mention.
I want to talk about LSU.
LSU, yeah. And my favorite player in the whole country is Marcel Reed. That guy's awesome. I think he's going to have another great year. But my team to watch in the SEC that's in that third tier, not the second tier, the third tier, is Kentucky. I don't know if Mark Pope's shelling some of his funds out to Kentucky, but they had the 10th best transfer class in the whole country. They had Kenny Minchie coming in from Notre Dame. They had 8 other 4 or 5 stars in the transfer portal, just in their portal class. So quietly rebuilt and going to be very, very dangerous. Minchie, in case you did not know, for the listeners, was a former 5-star top 5 quarterback in the entire country. He went to Notre Dame, sat on the bench, didn't really get any tick. Now he's going to Kentucky. I think they could easily – I don't think they're going to win many games, but I do think they could upset a team like LSU, a team like Texas A&M or Texas, who is looking to make the playoff, and they could easily beat them at home or away.
Yeah, and Will Stein's a great coach too. Is a great play caller. He proved that, the past 2 years as the offensive coordinator at Oregon. Yeah, I think that's a great take. I love Kentucky. It's just, it just comes down to
it's tough out there in the SEC, baby. We haven't even talked about Alabama.
Dude, can we get another one going of this? Like, we need another one.
I mean, we might need to just do an SEC pod. Yeah. All right. Well, give me your guy to watch in like the top 5 or top 5 teams. We'll do that.
And the SEC.
Yeah. Just like between LSU, Bama, A&M, like not Texas. Give me in that second tier.
Yeah.
Give me a guy to watch. I already said Marcel Reed. We all know him. He's a beast.
Yeah, I'll go on the defensive side of the ball because I just love defense. From Oklahoma, David Stone.
Oh, yeah.
David Stone if the listeners do not know, David Stone is one of those guys that needs double teams every single snap. Yeah. David Stone is such a good D lineman that you have to game plan around him because his QB pressure rate is one of the best in the country, and even though the numbers might not show it with sacks and pass deflections and things like that, he is just such a good player, and it's so fun to watch him. Has a little bit of that Jalen Carter in him, that his swim moves and his pass rush skills are unbelievable, but also is a great run stopper. He's just a big body guy. I'm going with David Stone on this one just because I love watching him play football.
That's a great take, and for the listeners, he's on every single mock draft of the first round next year. Mm-hmm. Literally every single one. So
he should be.
In case you don't know him, go ahead and watch Venables and watch Oklahoma. You'll see him pretty quick.
By the way, for Venables today.
6 years too, big one.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk Big Ten and break down the last conference here. I actually think this is an up year for the Big Ten. I'm usually a hater, but the mid-tier of the Big Ten is getting better, which is good to see because I'm sick of seeing teams like Tennessee get tossed around the SEC in a tumble dryer while the mid-tier Big Ten teams are terrible. So let's talk Big Ten. Give me a team to watch. Give me a team that you think is going to win it all and maybe a guy that you like out of there.
Yeah, I mean, you got to start with the reigning national champs, Indiana. Nobody thought they were going to win last year, and they were the best team in the country last year. In Indiana this year, a lot of turnover. I got it written down here. They're only returning 8 starters from last year's team.
Like 7 guys in the draft.
Yeah, and it was an old team, right? So this was kind of expected. But, man, I love maybe the best pickup in the portal for me is Nick Marsh, the wide receiver from Michigan State.
He needs to be unlocked, man.
I know. I'm such a Nick Marsh fan. I thought he was so good last year, even though Michigan State sucked. He was like a really good receiver. Had only 600 yards and 4 touchdowns. But
Aiden Sheila can't throw him the ball, man.
Yeah, and that's why he's at Northwestern now, right? It's come on. But if you know college football, Nick Marsh, and that he's good. Him and Charlie Becker are going to be it's going to be a great tandem. Him coming back is actually massive. Josh Hoover, who had a good year at TCU last year, going to get the start. I read something that Indiana had the most RPO plays last year. The second leading team in the country of RPO plays is TCU. So Josh Hoover fits right into this. Yeah, Josh Hoover fits right into the system. And Cignetti is Cignetti. He's a great coach and offensive-minded coach that can turn these guys into weapons day in and day out. But yeah, I mean that team was so good last year. And then
before you go into the next thing,
sorry,
I got to talk quick about Paul Feinbaum. I mean that guy's a moron. I posted on my story. In case you didn't see my story for anyone listening, Paul Feinbaum said Indiana isn't going to sniff another national championship game. Hey, buddy, newsflash, they actually have a new coach, new regime, and in the last 2 years, they're 27-2 or 25-2. So I think they probably will sniff another national championship game, and they have a top 5 portal class again. So of all the ESPN firings, Feinbaum not being one of them, put George Clendenin in the booth and take out Feinbaum. That's unbelievable. But continue on about the Big Ten. I just needed to say that because he's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, Feinbaum's clown show number 1. And he's always been just an SEC do or die guy. So, I mean, is it expected? Kinda, but horrible take. And Indiana too, to say that they won't make a national championship. On top of all the success they've had, look at the recruiting. They just had a commit. Yeah. They just had a commit from a top 10 player nationally in high school, Monsoon Sales, out of Florida, right? And
that's big time.
like Indiana is actually recruiting now, and you're trying to say that, oh, they're never going to be that. That was a one-hit wonder or whatever he said. No. All right. Anyways, enough with the bald guy. All right, we're going to go to Oregon now. Oregon is the most talented team in the country. And, just hands down, borderline fact, right? Dante Moore.
I would agree with that.
Dante Moore, right, could have been maybe a top 3 pick in the draft last year. He was mocked in number 1 in some cases, and then he stays NIL era now. He stays huge for Dan Lanning and the Ducks, and he has weapons. DeCorian Moore, who is a 5-star freshman receiver last year, in his sophomore year is going to be great. He was great last year. And they're getting Evan Stewart back, who is basically out.
So good.
Yeah, he was out for the whole season last year with an injury, the Texas A&M transfer. But he is also amazing. And then the defense, obviously.
Dude, that defense is
so many guys.
They have 4 guys that could be All-Americans.
So many guys. And it starts with Mateo Uyunglele, DJ's brother. Oh, man. Yeah. I know we know who's the favorite child in that household. Yeah, he is a beast and a disruptor. And then the secondary too,
and also guys. How about Tuioti? He led the team he led the team in sacks, and he's also returning.
Yeah, the team is just so good, and
didn't they get Coy Parrish in the?
Yeah, from Minnesota. The safety.
Total.
Yeah.
Yeah, that team is. I think what you said is factual. They're the best. They're the most talented team in the country. May not be the best team in the country. They have the most talent at their disposal.
The question is with Oregon, can Dan Lanning win the big one? Right. You get absolutely boat raced last year by Indiana from the jump. Right, first play, pick 6, and it's just Can Oregon, they have the pieces. Can they just go out there and play Oregon football and win big games? That's what it really comes down to. They play Ohio State this year. They play USC this year. They got a pretty, tough schedule.
I just pulled it up. Their schedule is, they play at Oklahoma State. Boise State, they're going to win by a lot, but that's not a walkover. They have at Ohio State. At home against Washington's pretty easy, but Washington's in the top 25. They probably won't be by the end of the year.
Williams,
they play against Michigan as well. Their schedule is not easy, man. And I usually, as I said in the beginning, complain about how easy Big Ten schedules are. They're not this year.
Yeah, no, definitely not. And you see that tide shift from Big Ten football is, final score 17-10, right? And you got Ohio State, Michigan, and back then Michigan State. Now you got a lot more of parity from top to bottom, and it's exciting. And I wish Big Ten wasn't at 12 p.m. on a Saturday, or for you 11 p.m. or
I'm Atlanta now.
Sorry. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right. Welcome to the best time zone in the country. But yeah, I really like the parity in Big Ten football. With Ohio State, we haven't talked about Ohio State yet, right? Number 1 in the preseason AP poll. Ohio State, yeah, for sure. And, Ryan Day is always going to have his guys ready. Just, again, another talented team. You lose Brian Hartline to USF, like I said before. But, the receivers are amazing, starting with Jeremiah Smith.
Best receiver group in the whole country, probably.
Yeah, Jeremiah Smith, obviously best receiver in the country. But you got Chris Henry Jr., who from Mater Dei, let me tell you, Chris Henry Jr., remember when Carnell Tate backed up, who was it, Chris Olave?
Or Egbuka.
Oh, yeah, Egbuka, sorry. When he backed up Egbuka, and who was like, whoa, who's this Carnell Tate guy, right?
Same with JSN the year before.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, and now Carnell Tate's, the 4th pick to the Titans, right? Yep. It's the same thing, except Chris Henry is going to be better than he will be the best receiver. Here's a take. Chris Henry Jr. will be the best receiver outside of Jeremiah Smith in Ohio State history.
You're talking. Let me just for the listeners that I love that take. You're talking Michael Thomas. I'm just going off the top of my head who I can think of. Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Carnell Tate, JSN.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Marvin Harrison Jr. Those are all first-round picks. Those 6 guys right there.
I'm telling you.
And that's not including Ted Ginn Jr.
That's true too. I'm telling you right now.
Love that.
He is going to be so good. And people know who he is fast because, just like their schedule, you go to Oklahoma State week 2, Chris Henry Jr. is going to catch some footballs, right? And I'm just saying, he's going to be, on ESPN. People are going to be posting about him like, who is this new guy? Mm-hmm. Like, he will be there. And yeah, but outside of him, I mean, Julian Sayin, obviously coming back, huge. Really good. Is he more of a game manager than a playmaker?
Yes.
Debatable.
Agreed.
Just like Texas, their flaw last year was the run game, and you got Bo Jackson in the backfield, who is a 4-star recruit who will be good this year. And another name is Legend Bay. First team all name in the country. Sure. So good. Legend Bay. He is a true freshman quarterback, flipped running back, and he will be the RB2. He is something. And he's got skills. He's got pass catching ability too. So their run game will be good. Defensively, they'll be just fine with like Devin Sanchez at corner, and their line's going to be great too.
I got a guy in that defense that actually, you know what? I got a hot take, kind of like you just did.
Let's go.
So Caleb Downs was the talk of the town. Obviously, he was
great player,
the best defensive player in this draft. The Cowboys got to steal, which I agree with.
Yeah,
I think Terry Moore from Duke, the transfer they got, is going to be as good as Caleb Downs.
Yeah,
that Duke defense. I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, but their quarterback threw 4 interceptions, 4 in one game, and the Duke defense had 7 turnovers created. Terry Moore had 2 of them. This guy is unbelievable. He's been a 3-year starter on Duke. He does everything. He picks the ball off. He forces fumbles. He tackles inside the box and outside the numbers. I think he's going to be as good as Caleb Downs this year.
Yeah, and Matt Patricia knows what he's doing on defense,
Yes,
and
he does.
With a guy like that, having those numbers at Duke, you can only imagine what he's going to do at Ohio State. Yes, the level in the Big Ten is better than the ACC. We all know that. But
the talent around
the talent, exactly. So, really like Ohio State. Player to watch for me in the Big Ten, we already kind of hinted at it, but it's Damon Williams Jr., the quarterback from Washington. He had a really good
year last year.
Yeah, that was a whole thing. Holy crap, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Imagine he's on LSU. I think they'd be, honestly, the number 1 seed in the country. Like, seriously.
He's
so much better than Sam Leavitt.
Yeah.
He got paid $4 million to go there for 1 year.
I know.
And they just denied it, which I don't mind by Washington. Stick to your guns, but if he was there instead of Sam Leavitt, I'd be talking about LSU as the title favorite.
Yeah, and he was so good last year, especially in the beginning of the year. I mean, you saw a little bit of drop off. What's that running back's name that got drafted?
Jonah Coleman.
Yeah, he was. That was a great 1-2 punch.
Yes.
Playing at Washington is always a challenge. And Damon Williams, great ball throwing ability. Super accurate too. Had one of the best completion percentages in the country last year. Even when he, had a few picks here and there, like per game later in the season. I really like Washington. They got a good schedule, a lot of tests in there. So I like Damon Williams Jr.
Okay, love it. I feel like we've covered the bulk of the Big Ten that matters. My guy's Jaden Maeva. Maeva, however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
Similar to Desmond Williams, like Will they make the playoff, even though they have a ton of money? Probably not. But I think USC is frisky. They could easily win 8, 9, maybe even 10 games and sneak in the playoff. Who knows? But Maeva is going to be playing on Sundays. That guy's really, really, really talented. He's not Caleb Williams because not many are, but he can really fill it up. Like 350 and 3 touchdowns is not an insane day for him. And he had a quietly amazing season last year, even though USC had, I think, 8 or 9 wins. But I like him out of the Big Ten. But I don't want this to run on too long. So, George, let's give our final 4 that we think. So after the playoff is over, I shouldn't say over, but after they narrow the playoff down to 4 teams, who are your final 4? Give me them right here.
Yeah, I like Oregon at the 1. Okay. I do think they're the best team in the country. Big Ten champs. Dan Lanning, kind of gets over the hump on the, first championship under his belt for the Oregon Ducks. And then I like the Dogs at 2. I think this is a really good team that can, win national championships. And, probably the best team in the last 3 years, ever since the last national championship in 2022, 23. Just really like them. I'm going to put Oklahoma at the, or I'll skip over the 3. Hold on. I got it pulled up right here. I'm going to skip over the 3 because we haven't really talked about them yet, but I'm going to put Oklahoma at the 4. I think Oklahoma, they have one of the toughest schedules in the country, but if they can survive, I'm telling you right now, that defense is ferocious. John Mateer, before the thumb injury last year, was the Heisman favorite. He's really good. He put on a lot of mass too. So watch out for Oklahoma. And then we'll go back to the 3, Notre Dame. We haven't really talked much about Notre Dame yet.
We haven't talked about them once.
I know, but Notre Dame, easiest schedule in the country, with CJ Carr, Leonard Moore, the best corner in the country, best secondary player in the country, probably.
I think they have with respect to Georgia, I think they have the best secondary in the country.
Yeah, for sure. And at receiver, too. You got 2 Ohio State transfers that you guys need to know. The listeners out there know these guys, Quincy Porter and Miles Graham. These guys are absolute dogs, but, there's only so many receivers that you can fit in that Ohio State room. It's so packed in there, and it's like, let's go over to Notre Dame and catch footballs from CJ Carr and go win 12 games. Maybe 11-1 with Miami, but
I gotta say this, man. First of all, love the take on Notre Dame, and I like that Final 4. I am one of the biggest Notre Dame haters out there. Their schedule is not easy this year. They play, for the listeners, they play at home against SMU, who will be a top 25 team the whole year. At home against Miami, who will be a top 10 team the whole year. They play away at BYU, which is in Provo, which is one of the toughest places to play in the entire country. I'm used to seeing Notre Dame play teams like Rice and play teams like that are just not
Northern Illinois.
Yeah, like NIU or Towson or somebody like that, who's just not even in the same breath as them. I got to give them a little bit of credit where credit's due. Those are 3 tough games, and they don't need to schedule those. They're BS independent, but they're very good this year, and I like that they're playing some tough games. I'm going to give my top 4 quick. I've got, in no particular order, but I'll give one because you gave one. Oregon 1, Notre Dame 2, Texas 3, Ole Miss 4. Don't really need to talk much about these teams. I think Ole Miss we already talked about, same with Texas. Notre Dame's defense is, in my opinion, for my money, the best in the country. Also, obviously, they're terrifically coached, have been for years. And I'm excited to see what they do, even though I hate Notre Dame. So that's my top 4. And George, you got anything to leave the listeners with on your last final take? Maybe your boldest take of them all. I don't know if anything can get more bold than the one you just had, but I like it. And what do you have to leave them with?
I've had my eye on this team since the spring.
Okay.
Oh no's. We're going to go with Michigan State is going to finish in the top 20 of the final rankings this year. Not making the playoffs, making a bowl game. Hopefully we see them, back home in Orlando at the Cheez-It Bowl. But Michigan State is going to finish in the top 20 this year. People forget that when Pat Fitzgerald was at Northwestern, they were an amazing team. And when I say amazing, I mean, just a well put together team that could win games.
Oh, yeah.
Put together 8-9 win seasons. And then Pat Fitzgerald, this whole locker room hazing thing. Some people call it team building, right? But Pat Fitzgerald going to Michigan State is huge, and Pat Fitzgerald is a great coach. What I believe in college football is if you win, you have a great coach behind you, right? Great teams need great coaches. Pat Fitzgerald is a great coach. Their quarterback who, took over for Aiden Childs, who, wasn't great last year. It's this true sophomore. Sorry if I butcher this name. It's very Serbian. It's like Mihilovic or something like that. But, I get the name wrong, but the stats are there. In like 5 games, he threw for 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, 3 picks with like a 120 QBR, which is, pretty high. So watch out for the Michigan State Spartans this year. Definitely the hottest take of the year, so probably won't go my way, but high on Sparty, man.
I love it. I'm finishing it off. Oklahoma State will finish between 6th and 10th in the playoff, and they will make it plus 1,700. Book it, whether it's offshore, whether it's DraftKings, whether it's Bet365, whatever tickles your fancy. Plus 1,700 Oklahoma State. That's my favorite take of the college football season. George, you're an awesome human being, and you're an awesome guest. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Thanks, man. This was a lot of fun. Listeners, thanks for listening.
Of course. Talk soon.
Football time, baby. Oh, yeah.